Hello, fifth graders. Today is Wednesday, November 18th, I think. Today in class, we had a few things for our homework assignment. Make sure that you waggle 10 minutes every day this week for a total of 50 minutes. And then you can earn up to 25 extra credit points if you waggle for an extra 25 extra minutes. And if you haven't figured out, I did put some other games on there, so you can click more missions. I think if I show you on my Waggle, it won't look the same. But when you first pull it open, it'll have your missions, and then it will have more missions, I think, down kind of toward the bottom right. So that is important to do, 10 minutes a day. What else? Make sure that you're reading every day. You can be working on your leveled reader. You can be reading a choice text. And then make sure you're studying spelling. Today we spent about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of class time on Spelling City, practicing our spelling words. So your test for that will be on Friday. Tomorrow is an important day that I will, on your HMH page, there will be a button, or I'm sorry, you always know you have a button called assignments up here. And when you click it, you're going to get a new assignment that is going to be this thing. I think it'll say HMH growth measure reading, and you took this at the beginning of the year, and I need to assign it again now because the window is open and we want to see if you are showing any growth from the beginning of the year to now. So the goal is that you'll score higher on this than you did at the beginning of the year to show that your brain is back in the swing of things for language arts after having several months off of school, not just for summer break, but also from Corona. So that is coming tomorrow. There won't be a learning lesson tomorrow. It'll just be test day. All right, and today I read chapter 13 in Among the Hidden, and I started the first page of 14. He had forgotten what fresh air felt like, filling his nostrils and lungs. Wait a minute, what? Ah, yes, the end of the last chapter. He moved in a daze, off his perch, down the stairs, into the kitchen, and then out the back door. So our main character has decided he's getting out of the house and he's going to go into the sports family's house. He had forgotten what fresh air felt like, filling his nostrils and lungs. It felt good. With his back pressed against the house, he stood still for a moment, just breathing. All the months he'd spent inside suddenly seemed like a dream. He'd been like some confused animal, hibernating during nice weather. The last real thing that had happened to him was being called inside when the woods were coming down. Real life was outdoors. But so was danger, and the longer he stayed out, the greater the danger. He forced himself down into a crouch and half crawled, half ran alongside the house and the hedges and the barn. At the back edge of the barn he hesitated, staring into the seemingly endless gulf between the barn and the trees, at the boundary between his backyard and the sports family's. Everybody's gone, he told himself. There's not a soul around to see you. Still he waited, staring at the blades of grass just beyond his feet. He'd been taught all his life to fear open spaces like the one in front of him. It faced dozens of windows. He'd never stepped foot in any place that public, even if it was deserted. Still, hidden by the barn, he made himself inch his foot forward. Then he drew it back. He turned around and looked at his family's house, so safe and secure, his sanctuary. He heard his mother's voice in his head, "Luke, inside now." It seemed so real. He remembered something he'd read in one of the old books in the attic about telepathy. Supposedly, if people really loved you, they could call out to you from miles away if you were in danger. He should go back. He'd be safe there. He took a deep breath, looking forward toward the sports family's house, then back again toward his own. He thought about returning home, trudging up the worn stairs, going back to his familiar room and the walls he stared at every day. Suddenly, he hated his house. It wasn't a sanctuary, it was a prison. Before he had time to think again, he pushed himself off into a sprint, recklessly streaking across the grass. He didn't even stop to hide at any trees. He ran right to the sports family's door and tugged at the screen. It was locked. That's the end of chapter 13. And I'll give you just a quick taste of chapter 14. In all his plottings, Luke had never thought of the screen door being locked, though he knew his own parents locked up at night when they didn't forget. The doors at his house had always been open for him, and he'd never been near anyone else's door. Idiot, he murmured to himself. He tugged harder on the door, but he couldn't concentrate enough to make his hands work together. Each second that passed made the hair on the back of his neck stand up more. He'd never been so exposed in his entire life. Hurry, 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 get out of sight. The door didn't budge. He'd have to turn around. Now. That was what his brain said. What his hand did was plunge through the screen. He pulled the wire away from the frame and reached through. The screen scraped the back of his hand and his arm, but he didn't stop. He fiddled with the lock inside until he heard it click. He silently slid the screen door back and stepped past the hanging blinds into the sports family's house. And that's where I'm going to stop. Let's see. The next thing we did was we talked about questions from class yesterday. So I'm going to blow up the screen that you can see a little bit. Take you over here. So after everybody looked at that broken road picture, I think I left it on my desk. Here it is. After everybody looked at this yesterday, they all wrote as many questions as they could, as fast as they could, and remember the other rules are don't judge anybody's questions, don't answer their questions, and then the writer has to write it how they see it or how the person says it. So I wrote down some questions from every group's, I feel like I need to move this up, from every group's papers. And so we had, what is the road made of? Did the rain do it? And we went through this whole list and we starred the ones that we thought, those are all answerable. We could figure out if that really, we could figure out the answer to that by Googling it or by just looking it up in the past articles online or whatever. The ones we circled, we said those are arguable, and in fact we had a few small arguments in class to prove the point. So what is the road made of? We could look that up, so it got a star. Did the rain do it? Well, we could look up, did it rain that night? Is that what caused it? Is it clay or rocks? We could look that up. We could go there and we could dig in there and say, yep, that's clay, yep, those are rocks. How deep are the cracks? Somebody could measure that. Why didn't we build better, why don't we build better roads? We said that that was arguable. Some people would say that the roads, it's because people didn't take care of them. Some people would say other people could design better designs that would keep that from happening. Where did it happen? Well, we could look that up and find out exactly what town it was by. Was anyone hurt? We could look that up and see if anybody got swallowed up in the road. Why this road? Well, we kind of said maybe depends on what the reason is why that happened. That could be arguable. And why does concrete break like that? And we thought, well, we could probably look up what happens to make concrete break. And then the last two we said are arguable. Can we keep this from happening? Some people said, no, it's Mother Nature, you can't help it. And some other people said, well, if we design better roads, we could. And then the last one, are people able to predict this? And this picture is the artwork of, what is it called? An earthquake. There we go. This is caused by an earthquake. And we said that there was some argument over whether or not people can predict earthquakes. So Then the class was given, let me get out of my big screen here. Each group was given a picture. So you can pick this one, this one, this one, or this one. Yeah. Just focus on either, you can choose the volcano, or this, or this, or this, and I would like you to practice right now giving yourself 5 minutes, whichever picture you want, to write down as many questions as you can. And remember, don't just have your student hat on, take that off and put on your scientist hat and think about, well, what would be some questions that maybe a scientist would ask? And then I would like you to email me a list of questions that you came up with, and you could have a brother or sister help you. You could have mom and dad brainstorm with you. It's kind of hard to brainstorm when you're by yourself. I understand that. So after groups went through these, so one group had this one group had this one. So they wrote down as many questions as they could, and then they had to find 1 or 2 questions that they thought were arguable, ones that we can't just find the answer by looking it up online. So write down as many as you can, show me the list, and then tell me which one or 2 you think are arguable ones, because our goal is to find some of those arguable ones. I did have students turning in final poetry books and turning in projects. I think both of you have done that. Let me make sure I covered everything here. Book, question, spelling. That was pretty much it. The rest of the class time, after we got done working in groups today, was spent on spelling city and making sure we're prepared for a test coming up on Friday. So Thursday, you have a reading test that I would like you to please sit and do on your own. It's important that you don't have anybody help you, because you need to know your growth and your ability. So make sure that tomorrow when you're working on that, you have a nice quiet place and you work on it all at one time. It could take up to 40 minutes-ish. It could take less. So just take your time on it and do the very best you can. And I think that is pretty much it. So don't forget to waggle your 10 minutes today and keep working hard, and talk to you tomorrow. Adios.